Good morning, Internet fans. It's Ryan Perry, Simple Biz Support. Today is Thursday, January. I was almost going to say July for some reason. 14th, and definitely with the weather out there, it is not July. It is cold and gloomy, which is perfect weather for Sonoma County this time of the year. And speaking of Sonoma County, I have Virginie Dorn with Business Website Center down in Petaluma, as usual. And Virginie, you want to talk about something cool and exciting. It's hip, it's cutting edge. It's like driving a Bentley, and that is backing up your website.
Yes, it's not that exciting, but the day you need your backup of a website because you either forgot to renew your hosting or your site was compromised by a hacker or malicious malware, you would be happy you did the effort of having a clean backup. We've been getting a lot of calls in the last couple of months for all sorts of people across the nations, and if we didn't do their website, we don't have a backup to help them with. So we have to start from scratch, which is quite expensive for the site owner. So it's all about backups today. It is so important. It is that insurance policy. Even if anything happened to your website, regardless, again, you missed a payment with your hosting provider or it got hacked, you are able to get it back on its feet very quickly for very little money, and you don't lose your investment.
All right, and let's talk a little bit about the facts or the numbers behind it. We do have some hard numbers. I think it was from 2013 that it was about 9 million websites, and I forget if that was 2013 or 2014, but it was roughly 30,000 websites a day were infected. And if I think the latest expectation is somewhere around 18 million for last year. Is that correct?
Yes, the experts are still coming up with numbers. It will take some time to get the accurate data, but they expect when the 2014 9 million website infected has doubled last year, doubled. So if it happens to you, don't take it personally. It happened to another 18 million people out there. It can be quite damaging to your company. Again, especially if you don't have backup, you have to start from scratch. So you have to go back to square one to developing a brand new website with new content, new images. It could be a total nightmare and a disaster for some of the companies when rely heavily on their website.
Yeah, and before, we're actually going to talk about some different ways to back up your website so that you have some information, some tangible information that you can use today and go check and see if things are in place or if tools are not in place. And I think this is really important because a lot of times people, you build your website, you set it, forget it. I had the mentality for years that, I'm just a small, I'm a small guy. I have a small company. I'm not Coca-Cola. I'm not GM. Nobody's going to mess with me. But that's changed in the last couple of years because one, a lot of people are on WordPress. I'm on WordPress. A lot of other small business owners are on WordPress. Maybe they built it out themselves. They had somebody else build it, but now they're responsible for, they set up the GoDaddy hosting account or HostGator hosting account. Boom, it's there, it's live. And what we don't realize, and in the last couple of years, because I've seen it personally with my clients, is that the small guys are getting hacked, and it's through automation.
Correct. So there's two kinds of hacking. The one where people will actually target specific companies and their website. They usually paid for the hacking. It could be corporate espionage, you name it. The most frequent way, the 19 million or whatever the number is of website infected, is through malicious script. And what hackers do, they build their portfolio, just like a graphic designer will build a portfolio of logos they've designed or brochures. Hackers do it in numbers of websites. Their scripts have been able to hacked. So when they are ready to be hired by some kind of horrible company, they can say, hey, my script last month infected 600,000 websites around the world. So this is just a script, and it's looking for entryways. And there are ways to protect you, but again, the backup is the first thing to do. But it's like a burglar. If they want to get into your house, they can. So you can lock your doors, you can add security bars to your windows, you can put a couple of security guards, a watchdog, a tall fence, barbed wire. But someone really wants to get in, there is a way for them to get in. Now, if you put all the security measures in place, it reduces your chance, of course. But typically it takes more money. So if your site got hacked, don't get too mad at the webmaster, because it's just the way hackers are working now for those malicious scripts they send out there.
Okay, so and basically, if a website gets hacked, there's a couple of different things. Maybe they just change some pages, but typically they're going to attack the database, and the database is kind of what is that background information that's working that kind of keeps everything together, especially if you have a WordPress site that has a blog and it's a CMS. Those require a database. If that database gets scrambled, you can't just go in and fix it. And that's the reason why you need a backup. So you have a clean slate of, yes, of all your pages, your pictures, your content, but more importantly is that database, correct?
That is correct. They will find a way through the database in most cases, and then they will corrupt the data inside the database, and it will eventually show up in the visual part. So sometimes you're infected for a couple of months, but the damage is not quite visible yet. Now, saying that, you can do some repair work. Sometimes the script will delete entire files and folders just by the nature of the script, and those have to be replaced. So you will need a programmer to do that. If you don't have a backup, for instance, it deletes your slideshow and you don't have a backup of a slideshow, well, it's gone. It has to be either put back or recreated. So that's why we're so keen on having those backups, because that's so easy. You wipe everything on your server and bring back a clean copy and you're done. And then you can take the extra measures, which we will be discussing next week. But today, It's all about the backups.
Yeah, and the other nice thing about the backup is that instead of trying to go in and clean something and maybe you still leave a little bit of that malicious code left over and it can reinfect, when you start clean, you're starting from a clean slate so that you know everything's clean. Now, with that being said, one of the things we were talking about before the episode started was you need to make sure that your database is clean. And like you just said, you may not notice there's a problem until 2, 3, 4 months later. So if you have a backup that's backing up on top of itself every day versus creating a backup and then creating a new backup, that could create an issue because you may have an infected backup versus being able to go back 4 months and going, all right, here's a clean version, let's install that.
It's so true. Typically, we recommend to our clients to keep backups for 12 months. For most companies, having a full backup at the first of every calendar month is good enough. So January all the way to December. And once we get to the new January, we delete last year's backup for that month. We back up not just the folders and make the website what it is, all pretty, but also the database. So there are 2 backups to make. And there are different ways to do it. You can do it manually, you can do a semi-automation, or you can pay someone to do your backup, which is what we will recommend. Now, maybe we can touch on the manually. If you're a really hands-on type of site owners, you can try to do it by yourself. In most instances, you're with a large hosting provider like Network Solutions, HostGator, GoDaddy. You should be able to go onto your hosting account, go to the dashboard that handles your server, and see if there's a way there to create a backup. Once a backup is saved through your hosting account, it is in 99% of the time to your server. So having a backup left on the server, it's fine, but if the server gets compromised, your backup is also compromised. So what we recommend, as well as SiteLock, which is one of the largest security web company out there, is you do download those backup once a month. After they are made, you back them up, you download them onto your local hard drive. So most people, it's their just regular computer, or maybe they have a local server inside their office. And in addition to that, you make sure your local computer is backed up on the cloud with a program like Carbonite, CrashPlan. Those are like $60 a year, and they will back up your entire computers, not just your backups of your website, but all the other important files you have. So back up on your server, download the backup, save it on a secured computer, and have that computer backed up as well.
Yeah, and with anything, redundancy. And so the idea is that if the server that's actually hosting your website is also storing the backup on the same server, if that server from the hosting company becomes infected, not only is your website infected, but also your backup. So by downloading a backup to your local computer, you now have at least a fail safe. And then the fail safe on top of the fail safe is then make sure you back up your data to a separate server. That way it's pretty much impossible that you'll ever lose your website.
Yes. Do it. I mean, it is not that complicated. The first time around might take you an hour. Truly call your hosting provider, the technical support. Most of them are really nice. And I mean, GoDaddy, for instance, 24/7. So any time of the day, you will get someone in the US. They'll show you how to do it, or they might even do it for you. But if you do it manually, just make sure you know what you're doing. And then again, you don't forget to back up your database as well, not just the folders. Database, again, it contains all your text and your images. If you have a content management system like WordPress or custom CMS or e-commerce site, membership site, all of those have a database. If your website is hard copied or hard coded, then you don't have to worry about a database. But primarily, we will say, call your hosting provider today, see if they have a new product to back up your website and restore it should there be any problem. I'm a big fan of GoDaddy. I know it's like Starbucks for coffee. But again, 24/7 customer support, they're very easy to talk to. And they just launched a few weeks ago, Site Backup and Restore. It's only a couple of dollars a month. And they back up and save your backups for you every month. So it's $2 cheaper than a cappuccino. You can sleep well at night. If there is any issue, you give them a call and they can either guide you through the manner into restoring the clean backup, or they can do it for you. So that would be my recommendation. Get your hosting provider to do it for you if they offer that product.
Yeah, and I think, the key advantage is, one, if you're doing it yourself, kudos on you, because at least you're backing up. The problem is when the site goes down, you need to take care of that now. And if you've never done it before, it could be a little cumbersome. It's like, oh yeah, I set this up a year ago, but where are my files? How do I get them? How do I, clear everything out and then reinstall them? How do I know if my backup is infected or not infected? By using a company such as GoDaddy, who's already got systems in place, they're a large enough company that they have not only the systems in place, so they can, go through the technical manual and go, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, but they have employees that deal with this on a daily basis. And so for them, it's just boom, 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 we can get it done. You're going to find that for the couple of dollars that it cost you, the headache it's going to save you if your website gets hacked is more than worth it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can lose your entire website investment if you don't have a single backup of it and you're unable to find your webmaster. Maybe they're out of business or they don't have a backup because that's not their job, perhaps. So now you're there with, you lost your website. It's so infected, it's not worth salvaging. It's like crashing your car and you have no insurance and it cannot be repaired. So the backups, in a nutshell, again, use automation if you can. It's become very affordable and a lot of the big providers out there offer that type of service. Back up your website every first of each calendar month. That's for your website folder. If you have a database, I recommend at least once a week to back up your database, especially if you make weekly changes to your blog or your shopping cart. You want to do that backup every week. Some clients do it daily, but that's because they are membership websites, so they have a lot of activities and their members saving things on their dashboards. Now, also save your backups onto your PC. Make sure your PC has a cloud-based backup system as well, like CrashPlant is one of my favorite, and Carbonite is very good as well. If you do those steps, you'll be in good shape. And again, keep them for 12 months. That would be my 6th recommendation. Keep them for 12 months, then get rid of the last one because it takes space.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is that for people that are out there using WordPress, there are plugins for doing backups. And what's nice is they'll automate the system and they can actually email the backup to you, so that every week or every month you can have an email. And if you ever have a problem, all you got to do is go back in your email and you can go ahead and get that backup. Again, you got to know what to do with it if your site does go down, and that can be a problem sometimes. So the free solution is not always the best solution, but at least do something. I mean, with so many websites getting hacked every single day, it's just smart money to invest your protection or your investment in your business.
Yes, do it. Do it today too. Don't wait until next week, because
Yeah.
infected websites are rampant right now.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Well, that's it for today's show, Virginie. I appreciate the time and energy that you put into it. Next week, we're going to talk about some of the things we touched on, and that's site lock and prevention. How can we prevent your website from getting hacked in the first place? So that's next week, same time, same place, same computer screen, Thursday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Virginie, I hope you have a great week and are looking forward to the weekend.
Thank you, Ryan. Bye.
All right, everybody, take care and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.